My name's Mohamed El Kasema, Director of Department of Parks and Wildlife Management. I'm an ecologist by training. My mandate here, or the mandate of this department, are twofold. Our mandate is managing the nation's wildlife estate. That's our responsibility. What we mean by wildlife is all free-ranging vertebrates. Whether they are on land, that's called terrestrial, arboreal, in the holes, in the dengs, marine, in the water, avian, whether they are flying, as long as it is a wildlife, it is either in situ or ex situ, in formal protected area system or outside formal protected area system. It's our responsibility to manage for now. We can use it and we can ensure sustainability of these resources for the posterity. That's our core mandate. Since I joined this department, I've been around as a career civil servant. I got my first training in the UK, and then I have another training in Tanzania, and where I have been to do advanced diploma in wildlife management. From there, when I returned, I had other short-term trainings. These short-term trainings have taken me to Smithsonian Institute in Washington, University of Makerere, and Harriet-One University in the UK. And I also did my master's degree in London, University of East London. From there, I did postgraduate diploma in conservation biology from University of Technisat in Dresden in Germany. So this has been my career path. I've been a career civil servant and I'm wildlife ecologist through and through. We have a very big responsibility in the fight against climate change because we have recognized that we are a climate vulnerable country and all hands must be put on deck to fight against climate change. What mitigation measures we can do is to establish formal protected area systems. This is one way of containing carbon sink, and we have done this right across the country in all regions. We are mainly pronounced in the North Bank, in West Coast and LRR. But in the last 2-3 years, we have expanded to CRR and URR South. It's unfortunate we are still looking for a new place in URR North, but we have not been successful yet. These are formal parks, either in the form of national park or a game reserve or community conservation areas. Before it was wildlife conservation, but now it is wildlife management. That implies that we have to work with the communities. We have recognized the importance and the role of the communities. As a state, we cannot do everything by ourselves. So we have to team with the communities, try to protect similar areas in their areas, at least restore what was there before and trying to mitigate their utilization of those areas. Because we have seen that people are over-harvesting, because there is a lot of competition between wildlife and human beings in terms of space and for food. When you go to around Santi areas or Santi markets in Greater Banjul area here, notably Brikama, Serekunda, you can see a lot of people selling kaba and so forth. These are the very food for monkeys. These are primate foods. So you can see we are competing, taking their food from the wild and selling it to ourselves If they come to our areas, try to attack our mangoes in our homes, that will always prone to fight. So our role is to mitigate. How do we balance to make sure that we coexist with these animals to ensure their sustainability for now and for posterity? And this is the reason why we have established this formal protected area called Institute, where like Abuko Nature Reserve here, Kiang West National Park, just to name a few, anytime you go, you are guaranteed to see wild animals in there, compared to other community areas where you would always or you'll sparsely see them. When you say wild animals, we entirely depend on trees. Once trees are gone, naturally we'll also follow suit. But one aspect of countering this or mitigating this is try to devise some project that will mitigate illegal cutting of these trees. One key example is on the Protected Area Network program. We call it PAN, Farmer Package. We are trying to pilot this in 3 areas in the country, one in Jokadu National Park, Nyome National Park, and in Kiang West National Park. We have selected 5 champion farmers within these communities where we want to encourage through a year-round farming by providing them with the means, that is water. At least if you provide a borehole in your farm here, we ask you to plant about 20 or 25 trees for this year. This is what we call agroforestry, and this is very good. You can have the benefit of trees and you can have the benefit of your crops. If you grow this all year round, you are encouraging creating employment opportunities for local communities, so their livelihood is enhanced. That will give them more opportunity to concentrate on their farms rather than just cutting trees that will just strain the habitats of these animals, because the amount of space in this country is the same. Gambia is a little over 11,000 kilometers square and it remains the same. So both human beings and wildlife, we have to compete within this. To allow that intraspecific interaction between human beings and wildlife is to encourage investment and projects like this. At least that will mitigate human interference in these protected areas. We are trying to diversify tourism, to move tourism away from the beaches into the hinterland, where you go. If you go to Kiang West National Park, you are guaranteed to see nearly 300 species of birds, and these are very good because greater majority of tourists visiting Gambia here are eco-tourists, mainly ornithologists. People just to come and see how these birds are, where's their natural environment. Because in the country here, we have recorded close to 600 species of birds in the Gambia here, and that's why the environment is still better compared to other countries. Given the size of this country, it's still heaven for bird watchers. Now, if you go to Baboon Island, there we are doing chimpanzee rehabilitation project for over 42 years. Chimps have multiplied over time and occupied several islands within that area, which is little about 570 islands, consists of 3 islands. So this is one way of encouraging tourism from the beaches or from the west coast here back into the other areas, and that's going to have triple multiply effect on the lives of the communities, because you can sell your products to the tourists, they can come for cultural activities in the communities, creating employment opportunities, lodges, eco-tourists, eco-lodges, etc., etc. So this overall, these are the contributions we are doing in terms of enhancing socio-economic development of the communities. Once you say endangered, means it encompasses a lot of things. But naturally, there are a few animals we categorize, we call them completely endangered. One is manatee, West African manatee, because these are marine mammals, and they are very well, the population in the Gambia is fairly good compared to Senegal, and in whole West Africa here, the population is a little bit stable here and in Liberia. Then you have clawless otter, which is also highly endangered. Then you have leopard. Leopards are here, but they are highly elusive and very difficult to see. These are also highly endangered species. Red Patas monkey, red colobus monkey is also an endangered species. And hippo are highly threatened. They are not endangered, but highly threatened species. And you can see we have the effect of climate change is having a drastic effect on some of these things. And we are moving now from conventional wildlife management into human management of wildlife, which is very important. That is management of human-wildlife conflict. and that's a very good thing I want to dwell on more, because there is an intense competition between human beings and wildlife in terms of space. In the 70s, the population of this country was quite low and small. There are a lot of forests around within the greater Banjul area here. But as we expand, we are only driving wildlife to move from their traditional areas into more shrink environments. A lot of animals you can see here in 70s, in 80s have disappeared, either completely or exclusively. That's why before you can see leopard here, but now they are highly elusive to see. There's no lion in this country anymore. All the lions are gone. There's nothing. In Abuko Nature Reserve here, we have what we call animal orphanage. The purpose of this orphanage is to cater for all injured, maimed animals. We rehabilitate them and eventually release them back into the wild. But hey, we're having a problem of this in fact now, because we have 18 hyenas in here in captivity. They are well trained, but we cannot release them back into the wild because there's nowhere where we can release them back. We have baboons and red patas monkeys that are going on the similar rehabilitation program. Eventually for them we can release them back in the wild, as we have two species of baboons in this country. It is Guinea baboon and western baboon called Papio and Papio nubis. And even right now their population has increased drastically. They have gone, in some areas they have gone beyond carrying capacity because there's no natural predator feeding on them, and as humans we don't eat them. So this is a problem for us. But generally this is the paradigm shift that we have to try to manage human use of this wildlife so that we can all coexist. Once I go off, my children can say this is a lion in this country here, there's a hippopotamus here, these have been here since immemorial and they are still here, and we want to carry on like this for posterity to see this, and that can be a very good legacy for us, and this is what we are trying to do. Baboons, that's mainly you see along the road. These are social animals. Sometimes you can see a large troop, nearly several hundreds, but then sometimes they will break up into smaller units, because when there's abundance of food, like right now, there you can see a very large group. Once the food stock dwindles, they can separate into smaller groups. That is why people are doing indiscriminate burning of bush. That is bushfire, uncontrolled bushfire, and this is having a catastrophic effect on these animals. Baboons, they don't sleep on the ground, they roost in the evening. They all go and sleep on the treetops. One situation like this, once carrying capacity go beyond, once they go beyond their density, two things can happen. We can either capture them if we can and relocate them, we call it translocation, we relocate them to other areas where they are sparsely populated, or otherwise we can call them. Calling means we have to do selective killing, which is very healthy in management to maintain the equilibrium, to maintain the population size at least, to ensure long-term sustainability and long-term availability. Otherwise, chaos will ensue. They will start competing over very little resources. Consequently, the weak ones and the old ones, babies, would succumb as a result of this clan fight among them. They'll kill each other, sometimes they fight to death. So this is what is happening even among hippos now. Like in the last 2-3 months, we have found 3 carcasses of hippos, mainly because of social fights in CRR. One just came on so in Janjambre, the other one around Brikamanding, and there was another one close to Basse. Because climate change is driving both human beings and wild animals from upland into lowland. So once people abandon upland farms, they come down to lowland. This is a hippo territory. And we are also losing, salt water is invading, is going upstream. It's alarming. When you go around Kuntaru now, you can see some small pockets of mangroves, which is really alarming, because the freshwater aspect is shrinking. OMVG is coming. That will have a multiplier effect on this, and there will be consequences. There will be really consequences. As a result, this is shrinking hippo territory. Now we are government is trying to encourage rice cultivation, year-round rice cultivation, food self-sufficiency. But there needs to be a lot of very good planning to do ESMP, called Environment Social Management Plan, or EIA, to make sure we cater for these wild animals here as a free dispersal area. At least we can leave some things for animals, for hippos along river banks where they can graze, because they're heavy herbivores. And if you go up a bit, we can do rice farming there. Then there'll be very least chance for hippos invading rice fields up. But once you come very close to the river banks, encourage tidal irrigation, naturally hippos are very happy to harvest our rice ahead of human beings, and naturally that bound to be a conflict. So our point of mitigating this is talking to farmers, trying to educate them to move away from river banks. They can encourage tidal irrigations, but once they make canals, they can put pipe canals that can go for nearly a kilometer away from river banks. At least that's going to deter hippos from grazing in those rice fields. So this is where we are doing. Nearly 98% of hippo population in this country now are concentrating between CRR and URR. LRR, they come there when water is brackish, around October, November, when part of when River Gambia is still a little bit brackish around that end, they'll come there. But as soon as the salt water starts sinking in, that's just moving them away. The pond project is close in. It's one of the key projects that has helped this department to cement, and consequently that has helped us to increase national protected area coverage as our policy calls for. Now, as we speak now, we have more than 9.2% of national territory on the formal wildlife protected area system. This has helped us to increase Kenya West National Park, has helped us to increase Baobulong Wetland Reserve, and has helped us to establish Baobulong Jokadu National Park as a fresh protected area, close to 20,000 hectares. With just ended Name Up Choso project, that has also helped us a lot in terms of restoration of degraded sensitive biodiversity areas. Meaning, Name Up Choso project has helped us to plant several thousands of hectares of mangroves along riverbanks. This is done in both in Greater Banjul area here. Key point is Tambi Wetland National Park, which encompasses around Lamen Lodge, around Cape Point, around Kamalo, and so forth in Kenya West National Park, in Jokadu National Park. And this is a very good thing for us, and because this is one aspect of enhancing livelihood. If you go to Bondali Tendal, we are very much visible there. We provided both through this project to the communities, help the women to cross into rice fields, and this is very good for us. You go to Barokunda, similar things are there. You go to Tambana in Jokadu, similar things are there. All these things are possible through our collaboration with Name Up Choso project under Ministry of Agriculture. And the PAN project was funded by Jeff, and we are about to start a new project again, which will mainly activity on the Convention of Biological Diversity called CBD. That will have some pockets of development in Katong, but mainly concentrating in CRR North within Kuntauru, Kauru local government area. There's donor fatigue and there's limited fund related to this. However, we are having a good success with Jeff over time, because Jeff runs on a cycle of every 4 years. And most of the projects we have implemented here are through Jeff funding. World Bank, we have developed some project with them. Then GCF, which is currently ongoing, called EBA, ecosystem-based approach, that encompasses several projects as implementing partners: Department of Parks and Wildlife Management, Department of Forestry, Community Development, Department of Agriculture, and so forth. This is an important source of funding for GCF, which is for the next 5 years. There's already 1 year is gone, 2 years. We have another 4 to 5 years running. This is very important for us, and these are mainly donor source of funding. But then Gambia government also is trying its role called GLF, which is mainly centered on protected area development, staff emolument, and basic operational activities. Our main donors are Jeff, Global Environment Facility, some aspects that have been outsourced through GCF, Global Climate Fund, then Minister of Agriculture Choso project, Name Up Choso project. The PAN project, which is end of this month, have achieved a lot. and we have jointly implemented this project with UNDP because the fund was through UNDP. Notable case in point is the project was able to build Jokadu National Park, new headquarters for Jokadu National Park. It was able to build and refurbish Kiang West National Park, which is a very big kudos for us. And we are able to establish Jokadu National Park itself through this project. We have done a very good farmer package program through this UNDP GF project. And very important for us is we've just concluded the review and update of Biodiversity and Wildlife Act that was done since 2003, because a lot of emerging issues have happened since the last 17 years. We have done this one, and I'm happy to inform you that this is just being forwarded to the Ministry for Onward Transmit or Cabinet. At least this is a very big achievement for us, because under normal circumstances, every 10 years, this needs to be reviewed. But because of funding difficulties now, but the project has done a lot, and we are very proud to say that this thing has been done, and it is achieved. And through this Name of Kyoso project too, this is one of the areas that has been implemented jointly by different managers in different areas, and that one also have achieved a tremendous success. And if you go to agriculture or NEMA, you ask them, they'll tell you we are one of the best because we are result oriented, and when IFAD comes around, we take them to these sites. They're all the time very, very happy. The results are always very successful.
The Gambia National Petroleum Corporation is the country's national oil company. For the past 17 years, GNPC has continued to deliver excellent services to all Gambians, from individuals to corporate clients. At GNPC, you are guaranteed the best quality fuel in the Gambia. Visit our stations and stop by our auto spare parts store, where you can find petroleum and lubricant products, wiper blades, and many more. All these provided without delay. With 10 service stations located throughout the country and still counting, GNPC gives you the best customer service anywhere, anytime. Think fuel, think GNPC Gambia. It is now time to take ownership of what we own. GNPC, Nyokomom, the Gambia, our homeland.
The port is along West Africa's busy shipping lane, being the country's main gateway for international trade. The port of Banjul accounts for 90% of all imports and exports. The port of Banjul has been recognized over the years as one of the safest and most efficient in West Africa, offering prompt, reliable and value for money service. The port has well-developed facilities for handling all types of cargo using modern equipment and techniques. This infrastructure, combined with a competitive and flexible tariff and a dedicated workforce, ensures quality service to its esteemed customers at all times. The port acquired modern cargo handling equipment, ensuring high degree of operational efficiency, which guarantees fast vessel turnaround time. The port of Banjul is unrivaled in Africa for its simplified trade documentation procedures, thus fast customs clearance. It has a deep sheltered anchorage with no record of piracy, thus making it one of the safest in the sub-region. Gambia Ports Authority, ready to serve you better in line with its corporate mission statement to excel as a leading maritime center for trade logistics and distribution.
For high quality fuel, right quantity, at the right time, at the right place, and the right price in a safe environment, visit any Petrogas service station. Petrogas has 15 service stations strategically located all over the country and still growing. Petrogas is the leading supplier of bulk fuel to corporate and government clients. Petrogas is the only company operating a hydrant refueling system at Banjul International Airport, providing interplane delivery services, refueling all international military and civilian aircrafts. Petrogas, the leading retail brand in the Gambia, has its own branded world-class gas cylinders to cater for households, hotels and restaurants. Petrogas cylinders are available in all outlets, including Plus Fortune, Halal and B&Co supermarkets. For high quality fuel for your vehicle or business, Petrogas is the place to go. Petrogas, operating locally with global standards.
Badingolu nyimu kankularol ti kabonan Gambia Revenue Authority GRA wala mansakunda la bundati minka namu kanungoke ko be jamamol be kala mutandila ko ka risito di anin invoice solo e kule mi yalonko a nyantale pour min yalonko wolle la e safaro safeta pour nyim vat bundala mimo namu kanin bunda nyinte ibal hakilo bulandila ko e vat loi bunda mi yalonko wole lota Gambia kono jang 2012 sango nyin kono e fengo fendi mi yalon ko wole mu sototi pour mole min yalon ko wolle ka supplier ke wole mu ka masandiso lu wafi molma walla ka do ko ke mole e watila mi yalon ko e mole a kanin ibulu e nyantale ka vadla invoice wole mu wo kayto ila do ko walla masandiso damu minti nyanta wo lankene male e risto fanandi amarila wo kango kan GRA e be mol be hakilo bulandi la min yalon ko wolle ka masandiso sang walla ka mol bula do kola ado nyanta ke jow e se risito mute bulu e ka bo supply lal bulu mi yalon ko le mu e molti minu mu safar lati walla julolo pour nyin kamala ka danken ko ila namo nyin ye wo jole a nyama ka sujundi nin vat bundala min yalon ko wolle safeta nyimbe jiare bunda nyim mako la bakele pour namo mi yalon ko wole ka censu mol bulo nyin kono isaje ko wo kodo nyin ani mananko ni namo be dunta mansa kundala aran keso nyinto katu ko won namo nyin ikamim bajo nyokan wolle kay yelema ka depasiro ke mansa kundala yirwa programme wala banko nyin kan woto alalla namo jo a watola pour banko la yirwando.
Unfortunately, there has not been any external program or external training on this. However, there were a lot of internal training that has been done on this. Not only capacitizing Department of Parks and Wildlife, but the communities as well. Because we have trained a lot of farmers, we have trained a lot of women groups around the country on this, both Nemo Choso and Jeff. We have trained what we call site management committees. These are the representatives of the community that we jointly manage these protected areas with. So they are there for the eyes and foot of the communities. All decisions we call protected area governance. Every decision that we take in this protected areas is jointly taken between the government and the communities through their representative called site management committees. If you go to these communities, they would even tell you, they could explain far more better than I do, because they are well aware we are addressing them all the time. Our responsibility now is we'll be scouting other source of funding once this project goes off, so that there is some sort of continuity of these activities. We'll do everything under the law, and we'll do everything within our ability to make sure that we maintain this level of interest within the communities for these protected areas if we really want to achieve sustainability at the end of the day. You have been with Kauswan and Abdullah. These are my champions here when it comes to protected areas in this country. We mentor them, and we are proud to say not only them, but there are others too who are here, like the deputy director, then the park managers in Kem West National Park, and in Jokadu National Park. And even as part of this, as part of our protected area program, our deputy permanent secretary, Mr. Laji Manjang, is as a result of this product. He was one of the people personally I mentored together with Kausu for over the years. Now, the fate being the case, he is now my boss administratively as my deputy permanent secretary in the ministry. But he came in as a result of our relationship with the communities and how we are enhancing community participation in park management. I mean, for the Jeff, which is an MSc, that's PAN project, which is an MSP, that's a medium-sized project, it's a little over $1 million. 10% of this goes to the implementing partner, which is UNDP, but it is money that is well spent. That is really well spent. For the Nemo Choso project, that's depending on annual allocation. Sometimes we'll be given around $8 million, sometimes $10 million, sometimes $9 million. Greater part of this goes into the community because we ask communities to go and fetch us mangrove stumps, and all the greater part stays with them. So we'll go for oyster culture, training women and how to harvest oyster within these protected areas. If mangroves have to be sustainable, at least there should be a way of harnessing this harvesting system so that it can be sustainable, it can be with them for many years, and we have provided boats for several protected area dependent communities. At least that will ensure restoration of mangroves in these degraded areas, but at the same time providing them very good source of harvest for at least once those oysters are harvested, they are sold, women are able to finance their own local needs, finance the pay school kids for their children, and so forth and so forth. Yeah, implementing partners are UNDP, Nema Choso Project, and several other CBOs and NGOs that are affiliated with us, notably Makasutu Wildlife Trust, West African Bird Study Association called WAPSA, and Sahel Wetlands Concerns. These are the three, and Gambia Combo Forest, we call it Comfora, Combo Forest Associations. These are the small local NGOs that are complementing efforts of government. So sometimes NEMA would give us something, we also pass it over to these people who are directly working in the communities. At least the money can be filtered down to the very core of the community. These are the very people that we work with. Now the governance structure has been very well simplified now compared to before, because I started work during the First Republic, then we moved into the Second Republic, until today we are in the Third Republic. So I have seen the difference and the delineation, the separation of powers in all these things. Before, we can hardly take a decision. All decisions have been referred to the ministry. Ministry also will refer them to OP for clearance. And sometimes when it goes to OP, you cannot ask them, you cannot follow them. It becomes a problem. But now we are very free. We are operating according to our mandate. We are operating according to what powers the law gave me. As a director before I can even call a hippo, it has to go up to the executive to take a decision on that. But now I'll have to see the need that I can establish certain criteria. When those criteria are met, I don't even ask minister's permission. I would give an authority to the governor so that whichever we call them. I would only inform the ministry by way of our normal feeding. That is our normal updates to tell them this is what we have done here, what we have done here. And for now we are very, very happy. This one is left in our hands. We have to operate according to the law, and the minister don't have to dictate me to do anything that I feel is against the law. I cannot be arm twisted unlike before. Now we are very free. One key aspect of preparing our law or updating our law is as a result of this, because as a department, as a directorate, we are a focal point for several of these we call MIAs, multilateral environmental agreements, such as CBD, that is Convention on Biological Diversity, which is encompassed of 3 Rio conventions, one in climate change, desertification, and biodiversity. So our aspect is biodiversity. Then we are also the focal point for CITES, which is Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species. Then you have Iowa, African Eurasian Migratory Waterbird Agreement, CMS, Convention on Migratory Species of Wild Animals, and Ramsar Convention, which is a convention of wetlands of international importance. As you know, Gambia, nearly 30% of our country is all wetlands, and this is a first point of call for most of these migratory and wintering and pelagic birds going into hinterland of Africa. One case in point is Tangier Bird Reserve, Tangier Quarantine Bird Reserve, and Bigel Island. If you go there someday, you may find nearly 1 million colony of royal terns. So all these things, this is a highly fragile and endangered part of Tangier Bird Reserve. And the law here is, as a member of all these conventions, we have to domesticate these conventions into our national laws as regulations and to enforce them. If you have a monkey here, you cannot take that monkey out of this country without coming to this office here to give you permission for that. All wildlife and wildlife products and byproducts. This is one way of implementing CITES Convention, Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species. The other aspect is CBD. This is why we are expanding these protected areas. Part of that CBD is called ABS, as Access and Benefit Sharing. That is, we're looking at intellectual property rights of these biological products. For example, if you've taken moringa, when moringa, somebody want to do a research on moringa here, the person has to acknowledge this intellectual property rights of where the moringa comes from. This is part of the CBD protocols. And as a result of this, we are currently developing a project through Jeff7 so that we can have a national law on this. We can also have a national law on biosafety. That is, all biological hazards, all bioproducts that are living in this country here has to be scrutinized through the law. So these are very important environmental agreements Gambia is a party to, and we are obligated to implement this and domesticate them into our national laws through Department of Parks and Wildlife here, through Forestry Act, and through NEMA, that is National Environment Management Act, which is a body that encompasses all these environmental acts in the country here. So far so good. This is why we have when it comes to this MIA's multilateral environmental agreements. And as I told you, we are the focal points of the mentioned conventions and agreements we have. When you want to go for climate change, you go to the ministry. When you want to have on communal fisheries, go to Department of Fisheries, and others you go to Ministry of Water Resources. And when you come to desertification, you go to Department of Forestry. But then there's no competition per se between all these focal points. That's what we call complementarity, as we are all part of this environment and natural agriculture and natural resource working group, which is South at NE. Challenges are many because many of my staff are on the lower cadre. Training capacity building is a key priority for us, and that's a very big challenge because we have a lot of foot soldiers that we want to be organized. We want to be having continuous capacity building for them, because these are the foot soldiers on the ground. They are the people who have a direct interface with the communities, and it's important they are capacitized, incentives. They have been given a very good incentives. They have been given risk allowances, which are not available as we speak now. That's really a problem for us. We don't have risk allowances. Sometimes people will call us in the community to say, hey, there's a snake in my house. We will go and help those to remove those snakes from there, but it's a problem here. And like one case in point is, I'm having a difficulty with MRC and the communities around Senegambia areas, because when the hotels were booming, people were throwing leftover foods away. They are not allowed to feed monkeys, but as you know, monkeys as they are, the only time to go and steal these things. Since these hotels are closed, now they go and raid homes, and this is a problem for us. But the capacity to tranquilize these monkeys and move them to somewhere else, we don't have that one. We don't have a vet. It has taken us over 5 years to train a vet here, and to recruit a vet we cannot. But if we have the ability to train them here, that will be very good for us, because minimum it may take us about 7 years to train a vet, which is really a problem for us. The incentive is when they are given grade 9 on integrated pay scale. For them, that's just like a scratch on the surface for them, because that's too small for them. That's a very big challenge for us. And mobility is another big problem for us. Right now, we have only 3 vehicles that are better in this department here. So if you want to operate all over the country, we need to be in here. We need to have a lot of mobility facility to mobilize. At least we can mobile. Once there is hippo wildlife conflict somewhere here, I can train my people to shoot a hippo. But I'm a ballistic specialist myself. A few of my staff are also have done rigorous, nearly 10 of us rigorous ballistic training. But if you don't practice this, it's obsolete. This is a problem. We are, by law, we are allowed to be armed, but we are still not armed. So anytime there is human wildlife conflict, we have to resort to calling police. Like a case in point is about nearly 2 months ago, or 1.5 months ago, 2 hyenas escaped from here. One was lynched and eventually killed around Taboko to here. When we recovered, the blunt force trauma was just too much. We went to recover the hyena. We tried to do our very best to anesthetic everything, but they couldn't survive. It was lost. We asked the police to help. The police said they don't have ammunition, which was really sad from the IGP. So I had to call CDS through my contacts in the military. They are able to, I have asked them to put a half platoon on standby for me if they need be. Myself, I've taken a gun with my field gear and everybody. We search that hyena here to flush it out from the mangroves. If we have a trained unit, rapid response unit, once the human wildlife comes, they can always go and control this. This is what is happening in Senegal, in Kenya, South Africa, and many other countries. But unfortunately, we are the only country wildlife scouts in this Africa here, or wildlife rangers who are not armed, which is really sad, and that's a very big challenge for us. And the environment is a problem for us. there should be a very good funding for the environment, but unfortunately we are not. And environment knows no border. Climate change is cutting across all sectors. It knows no border. This is a problem for us now. And the other challenge is encroachment into this protected area. There is a very weak law governing demography in this country here. You go to Greater Banjul area here, from Old Joshua up to Maniring, Tambi Wetland National Park is being encroached from all sides. People are even settling the mangroves. If you want to go and demolish those houses now, it's a problem. Who helps and who the bureaucracy of moving people out is always a very big challenge. But I'm sure on a more positive side, as we are talking to all the other stakeholders, there's a good relationship between us, other stakeholders like Department of Physical Planning, Department of Lands, NEA. We are doing a joint teams and try to sensitize and trying to mobilize our resources together and see what we can do, because this is a challenge that cannot be solved overnight and we cannot find any ready-made solution. But over time, I'm sure with the continuous interaction, continuous interface, continuous talking, harnessing of resources, at the end of the day, this is Gambia that belongs to all and sundry. If I'm affected one way, indirectly or directly, you'll also be affected as a consequence of my affection. So by and large, this is what I wanted to say, and we need to show a lot of visibility like this. There should be a lot of interface between us and the communities. Mass sensitizations, at least, is important, because we are human beings. We are creatures of nature. You can tell me something today, next 3 days it goes off my head. But constant reminding, at least, that will always, in my view, would have a long-lasting impact. Like Banjul Declaration, when we are all going to school, this was the first law relating to wildlife management in this country. This was a very good policy statement in 1977. This is what has been changed, improved until 2020. But that was the catalyst, that was the basis of this department, when we and Forestry were one department, we were a unit on the Forestry then.
The Gambia National Petroleum Corporation is the country's national oil company. For the past 17 years, GNPC has continued to deliver excellent services to all Gambians, from individuals to corporate clients. At GNPC, you are guaranteed the best quality fuel in the Gambia. Visit our stations and stop by our auto spare parts store, where you can find petroleum and lubricant products, wiper blades, and many more. All these provided without delay. With 10 service stations located throughout the country and still counting, GNPC gives you the best customer service anywhere, anytime. Think fuel, think GNPC Gambia. It is now time to take ownership of what we own. GNPC, Nyokomom, the Gambia, our homeland.
The port is along West Africa's busy shipping lane, being the country's main gateway for international trade. The port of Banjul accounts for 90% of all imports and exports. The port of Banjul has been recognized over the years as one of the safest and most efficient in West Africa, offering prompt, reliable and value for money service. The port has well-developed facilities for handling all type of cargo using modern equipment and techniques. This infrastructure, combined with a competitive and flexible tariff and a dedicated workforce, ensures quality service to its esteemed customers at all times. The port acquired modern cargo handling equipment, ensuring high degree of operational efficiency, which guarantees fast vessel turnaround time. The port of Banjul is unrivaled in Africa for its simplified trade documentation procedures, thus fast customs clearance. It has a deep sheltered anchorage with no record of piracy, thus making it one of the safest in the sub-region. Gambia Ports Authority, ready to serve you better in line with its corporate mission statement, to excel as a leading maritime center for trade logistics and distribution.
For high quality fuel, right quantity, at the right time, at the right place, and the right price in a safe environment, visit any Petrogas service station. Petrogas has 15 service stations strategically located all over the country and still growing. Petrogas is the leading supplier of bulk fuel to corporate and government clients. Petrogas is the only company operating a hydrant refueling system at Banjul International Airport, providing interplane delivery services, refueling all international military and civilian aircrafts. Petrogas, the leading retail brand in the Gambia, has its own branded world-class gas cylinders to cater for households, hotels, and restaurants. Petrogas cylinders are available in all outlets, including Plus Fortune, Halal, and B&Co supermarkets. For high-quality fuel for your vehicle or business, Petrogas is the place to go. Petrogas, operating locally with global standards.
baadiŋolu ñimu kankularol ti ka bonan Gambia Revenue Authority GRA wala mansa kunda la bundati min ka namu kanuŋo ke ko be jamamol be kala mutandi la ko ka risito di anin invoice solu e kule mi ya lon ko a ñantale pour min ya lon ko wolle la e safaro safeta pour ñim vat bunda la mimo namu kanin bunda ñinti ibal hakilo bulandi la ko e vat loi bunda mi ya lon ko wole lota Gambia kono jang 2012 sango ñin kono e fengo fendi mi yalon ko wole mu sototi pour mole min yalon ko wolle ka supplyo ke wolle mu ka masandiso lu wafi molma walla ka do ko ke mole e watila mi yalon ko e mole a kanin ibulu e nyantale ka vadla invoice wole mu wo kayto ila do ko walla masandiso damu minti nyanta wo lankene male e risito fanandi amarila wo kango kan GRA e be mol be hakilo bulandi la min yalon ko wolle ka masandiso sang walla ka mol bula do kola ado nyanta ke jow e se risito mute bulu e ka bo supply lal bulu mi yalon ko le mu e molti minu mu safar lati walla julolo pour nyin kamala ka danken ko ila namo nyin ye wo jole a nyama ka sujundi nin vat bundala min yalon ko wolle safeta nyimbe jiare bunda nyim mako la bakele pour namo mi yalon ko wole ka censu mol bulo nyin kono isaje ko wo kodo nyin ani mananko ni namo be dunta man sakundala arankeso nyinto katu ko won namo nyin ikamim bajo nyokan wolle kay yelema ka depasiro ke man sakundala yirwa programme la banko nyin kan woto alalla namo jo a watola pour banko la yirwando.
In our view, the issue in NDP environment is not very prominent. It is there, it's mentioned, but it's not very prominent as you would have wanted it to be present, to be prominent. Because everything you do would have a consequence on the environment. There's a lot of pollution all over this country. Once there's human settlements have been expanded, there's uncontrolled estate companies are just tuning all community forests into for human settlements. People don't understand that this is having a long-term effect on us because we are in these times of climate unpredictability. Rainfall is very erratic because we are clearing all the forest areas, making for human settlement. This is an important field. This environment should have been very much prominent in the NDP, but I'm sure if everyone is witnessing what is going on, once NDP has been revised at the end of these the 3 years, I'm sure environment would be a very good environment, may really feature very well, because I've highlighted this one to Alaji Fadera, the Director General at Ministry of Finance, who is National Planning on this, and all the time he's been calling me and I've been calling him too. So we are working hand in tandem on this, and I'm sure he's doing the same thing with NEA and other stakeholders that's concerned with the environment. We must learn to coexist. There should be a policy statement say this area is for human settlement. Wildlife will give way. But this area is only for preservation, at least for future development. I think if you can look at where the Independence Stadium is, or how those places were between all just around that end, all those things were virgin forest before. But they all disappeared as been acceleration because human population, we are exploding far more than wildlife are increasing. Now for wildlife, for you and I, we can all move in there, but wildlife, they cannot move in our settlements. This is the problem. There is encouragement in all the protected areas around here, in Tangi, in Salaji Forest here, in Kabafita Forest, in Tambi Wetland National Park here, and all the community forests, even going around up to Gunjur, around within the greater Banjul area here, is more prominent, especially around this half of West Coast here. It's sad because we are not only encouraging human settlements, but everyone want to have a garden. We are encouraging orchards all over the place. We are turning our virgin forest into orchards. And once you do, of course, you provide fruit trees, animals will come for them. Because if you kick me from my house, I'll also want to come and counterattack and see what you have. Because the food is survival. As I mentioned at the beginning of the interview, if you go to all these sandy areas, in Serakunda Market, in Brikama, in Latrikunda, you find a lot of people selling kaba. You find people setting called data Senegalensis called talo or data. A lot of people are selling solam. They are selling colobos, which is netto, and so forth. All this is bread for animals, bread for baboons. So when baboons see that we have nothing, they'll say, hey, look, who is taking this? Let's go after them. Right now, I have a serious problem in MRC. We have a colony of these green barbed monkeys there. They proliferate fast. They were small, they are feeding them now, they are more than 50. They asked me to remove them. But I don't have the capacity, I don't know even where to take them in the first place. If we capture them, we have to do a lot of research on them to see they are disease free and so forth and so forth. But tranquilizing them is a problem. And these are the things that's going on, not only at this place, but there's a lot of competition between human beings and wild animals. So we are encouraging community to coexist with these animals. If you go to CRR and URR, they would ask us to kill all the hippos because for them to grow rice. Because man is very selfish. They don't want any other thing except human being. If you leave themselves there, we'll end up fighting because we have been fighting for species. That's why you can see a lot of communities in the country are fighting now for land because land cannot sustain the population anymore. Population is rapidly increasing. There's a lot of anthropological pressures on wildlife, and this is a problem, unfortunately. But we must learn to go. We only take what you need and leave the rest for the animals to exist. So this is a problem for us, but I don't know. It's a complicated matter. Because if you ask people to carry on some sort of a family plan, accept at least to slow down acceleration, they will say you are satanic or you are mad. But then for animals, who dare to ask them to do family planning? The only thing, once they go beyond carrying capacity, we can call them. Mainly primates, baboon, because there's no natural predator. If there are a lot of lions around, there are a lot of hyenas in the field, there are a lot of leopards in the wild, they'll be feeding on them sustainably. Because lions would know, baboons would know, leopards would know, if we wipe out the baboons, we are also being wiped out. So you can only take what you have and that's it. But for human beings, we are all the time very greedy and selfish. We want to take as many as possible. You can have, say Mr. Gazam has 20 compounds. I'm very proud. For what? You only need one place to sleep with my family and that's it. You need that one, he needs that, someone else needs one. But because of this is the problem. We are encouraging everywhere, we don't care of anything except ourselves. And once that happens, there will be conflict. The conflicts will not be sustainable. There will be fatalities, we will be killing wildlife, but once a while, when there's opportunity, they will kill us. And who pays the price? Both of us. There's no winner, there's no loser. I'm the chief lawyer for animals in this country, wildlife, and I have to defend them with my life. That's one aspect. But on the other aspect, as a human being, as a brother, I would also want to defend you with my life too. So my life is wedged between these two, between human beings and wild animals. I have been around this department here all my life. I started first as an education assistant. My responsibility was to take in school children from here, taking them all around the nature reserve, trying to tell them how Abuko is. Abuko Nature Reserve started since 1916. Over time, a lot of things have happened until now, and this is how the environment in many parts of this country was like this before. On the other aspect too, we have been doing what we call outreach program and extension program. We have a film unit before that we have been to several schools around the country, several communities. We provide them free cinema showing them what animals used to exist in this country before. Like the last elephant was shot in this country a little over 100 years ago, and there's no elephant. If you go to East Africa, they are proud of big fives. Out of these big five, only one that's present in this country here, which is hippo. That's the only animals. If you look at the overall index, we have lost nearly 25% of our wildlife population in this country. But we are also making effort to do what we call public-private partnership. Now, we are talking with Aspinal Foundation. We are talking with Fatala, at least to revamp Abuko Nature Reserve here to encourage investment in here. We will have to. We want to return our goal is to restore Abuko back to its glory days. That is moving some animals from Fatala into here. At least the kids don't have to run everywhere. You can come here, you see lion. We can go walk with lion here. They will see buffalo here. They will see giraffe and so forth. So this is what we are trying to do. We are trying to tell people that we have over 42 species of snakes in this country here, but nearly 80% of them, or 85, are all harmless. So people could not have the fear that once you see a snake, you only think about taking a stick to kill them. Like python, you call in wall of yeo, you call in manenka minion. It's not a poisonous snake. It doesn't easily attack you. So these are very important things. It's a big ask on us. Try to tell the people this is what we are. And I'm always very happy when people see me, then they look and say, oh, this is the man for the baboons. This is man for the pigs. This is man for the hippos. And this is very important. This is what I'm made of, and I'm very proud to live like this until I retire. At least I can leave this legacy here that anytime people see wild animals, first you don't have to think about killing them, but how do we preserve this? What can we do? Like right now, we are collecting some monkeys from other people. About 3 days ago, some people have got a civet that was being chased and was chasing baboons, and it abandoned the baby. Somebody picked up the baby in CRR. They called us. We tried to fix it up until we captured it. We have taken it to River Gambia National Park, Baboon Island. Eventually, it's coming over here. And sometimes when I see monkeys in people, when I see them selling baboons, we try to retrieve these animals, bringing them into nature reserve here, because these are very important to educate them. This is not for commercial aspect, but these animals are here for us. We can better utilize them for now and for posterity. So this is who I am, and this is what I'm proud to be. In 70s, 80s until 90s, all the time there's a guarantee that anytime you go to Abuko Nature Reserve, you'll physically see a lion if you cannot see in the wild. But then as the last lion was killed here when I was unfortunately doing my masters in the UK, for some reason it escaped and they could not capture it, and it sends a wrong message in the community, and eventually it was gone down. This is why we are doing what we call private-public partnership. The government or the state cannot fund all this thing on its own. We say, hey, look, whoever has money, if you have $1, say, come, let's invest in this. There's light at the end of the tunnel, because wildlife investment is sustainable, but it's always a strategic investment. There's no quick return. But I can assure you in the next 2-3 years, when you come down to Abuko Nature Reserve, it's going to be a different thing altogether. It's going to be a different ball game. This is why we have signed an agreement with Fatala called Abuko Conservation Area. In the next 2-3 years, after the pandemic, when you come here, you can even walk with lion in here. I can assure you that inshallah that will happen. That should be one of my legacy. Once that happens, I'll eventually pass the baton on to some other people, and then I can gracefully go. The biggest achievement we have as far as NDP is concerned, it is we are able to grow protected area coverage from 6 point something to 9 point something within the last 3 years, which is a very big achievement on our side of the national territory, which is a very good thing. Then we are also able to enhance livelihoods of many farmers and communities around these protected areas by way of creating employment opportunities from directly and indirectly. As you visited one of these power packages yesterday, that is one of the achievements of this NDP, because if we give an enable environment to do year-round farming, at the end of the day, I will drive a lot of income out of that farming, and the multiplier effect of that, because if I have, somebody has, somebody also has, that's going to trickle down back into the communities. And many communities will be very happy at the end of the day about what they have achieved in this.